very many people, especially as well as in the left, I mean, these people think that all foreigners are all dumb or stupid, and then they would need Austrians or Germans to handle this. I mean, this is pretty much this is deep rooted, and this then, of course, constitutes some sort of leads to a goal, and this is what we will talk about it as well a little bit later. And this means that this antagonism, this creation of it always serves a purpose. It never creates something. I mean, if we talked about it from a male perspective, then of course it is about getting something, getting an object which then underlines your manliness. I mean, this could be a car. This is what we talked about, a car, that a car or a good car is an extension of your wealth, but as well as something what the society expects from you as a man. I mean, being fluid, being able to afford, being studious, being as well as dominant. I mean, in a society where people still expect that men lead. Of course, everyone assumes that you are the boss, the chef, or whatever. I mean, this is indeed very, very, very crucial, especially in lower parts of the society. This happened in Austria as well as, I mean, all those white people, all those other people, they all came along and they always wanted to be the boss, the head, and so on, just to get this feeling of superiority back, because this is what they all wanted. I mean, if you're a white supremacist, and if you grew up with the notion that that you are above everyone, that you are superior to everyone, then of course, if another man comes along, especially a foreigner, a non-white or whatever, I mean, whiteness, like I said, whiteness in Europe is rather an issue. It is questionable and mostly not evident on your colors of whiteness in Europe, because in continental Europe, the black population is not as much or there are not as many blacks as in the US. In continental Europe, there are a lot of people from the Middle East, and in the Middle East, I mean, these people count as white. No matter what you say, I mean, it may be exemptions, but however, the Middle East is a white, or at least Mediterranean looking, and you are white. However it is, but so the main difference is culture. People make the difference of culture, and however, I mean, when we stay with this example, and you could see that these people, that these Austrians as well as Germans, they always needed to assert themselves. I mean, they grew up with the perception that they would be superior to others, and then this is being under conflict, and this conflicts with reality, and in order to help them to maintain their perception that they are superior and above foreigners, then they become your chefs or whatever, or they dress up as authority figures and then harass people. This is actually very common in this despicable Austrian state, and it's not going to change. I mean, this was the case before the Holocaust as well. I mean, this is just Austrian, deplorable Austrian culture. However, it isn't. However, but you see that this is a necessity as well as a goal, some sort of a pleasure. It gives you pleasure. You can maintain your identity, and this is very, very important for you, and it is as well as very important for us to understand hate and anger, especially the hate then indeed goes beyond antagonism, because antagonism is with this pleasure. This is true, because this pleasure which then raises a counter culture, which in a way has its own values, which helps you to maintain or find your place in your own society from which you are outcast. But again, this counter culture, this is what we try to pinpoint with the association chain. This is never something which you individually create and then live by, because then you would, if you would create an individual counter culture, then you would not have anything that approves you or appreciates you. You need this approval, you need this appreciation, you need being part of it, and this is something you can only accomplish in a group, in a society. And this counter culture then has some developed some mechanism which help you to find your place, and this is very, very important for you. So, because like we said, you cannot go on and live like being an outcast, especially if you listen to hate speeches in Austria as well as in Germany. I mean, these people straightforward consider you as low life, or even they go so far to attack you, assault you. Believe me, if you feel how acid burns through your flesh, this is pretty much nasty. I mean, if this burns through your skin, acid, then this is pretty much real, that someone went through a great deal to put acid into your shampoo just to hurt you severely. And then it is even more hideous that these people, these scumbags, because someone who does this is a scumbag, a despicable creature, that this scumbag is not even prosecuted. So there's obviously, and we talked about this, obviously Austria is a failed state, a despicable stain on human conscience, and I have nothing as deep hatred against this despicable country, their depraved culture, and their despicable language. However, I'm always trying to some sort of rein in my hatred. My hatred is indeed real after what happened, and I don't, and nothing is going to change that. I mean, I hate Austria. I always hated it. I despise this. I just despise them, and I hopefully, and I do not believe that these people will get justice on normal channels and basis. However, but in order to continue, let's some sort of differentiate between hate and anger, which I think is some sort of a summary, and then we will some sort of continue and then ask. Of course, we have to ask, yeah, can't we just avoid it? I mean, one thing is, of course, what we said over and over again, and this is that anger needs the existence of others, and we came to the conclusion, and this is still an assumption, is that hate does not need the existence of the other, that hate despises the existence of the others. So if you want to hate, cannot live with the other. For hate, there is no coexistence with the other, whereas anger still needs the other to constitute its own identity. Anger is the antagonism may arise from this pleasure. However, like we said, it is important to create identity. I mean, one thing, of course, we have to ask ourselves. I mean, this is indeed antagonism is something again which we as well see and saw that this builds up on a time. You do not create antagonism because you are rebuffed or something. You do not create hate or hatred just because of one occurrence or one single incident. These are incidents which has been going on for a while, which and of course which may not even happen to you alone, but to others as well. I mean, this is what you find if you're excluded from a society. Think about the black community or the Afro-American community in North America who live in some areas, in very dangerous areas. Then of course your vicinity helps you to create an understanding of your world and from your surroundings. And and of course we have to ask ourselves, why can't you just avoid it? I mean, is there not a way where you some sort of remain just with an aversion? Aversion would we said is just if you turn away. I mean, you dislike it. This is something you cannot change it in a way. You don't have to like or love anybody whom you don't want to. But is there not a way to just avoid it? I mean, and this is then a question which then depends. I mean, depends in that sense whether you have some other resources which makes it possible for you to avoid these issues. I mean, this is I talked about it. If you are a carpenter, as a carpenter, it is very difficult because then you have to compete with all those intellectuals or whatever. Whereas if you're a graduate or if you attend university, it is easier to get approval. And this is what we will have to talk about as well, the goal and the purpose. I mean, what has this to do with goal and purpose, and how do we have to understand this, because this depends a lot from your goal and purpose. But however we want to say it, I mean, it depends in that sense. I mean, if you're from a poor neighborhood, whatever, then manliness and your moral ability, or what you have on your skin, or your physical ability, may be the only thing you can some sort of show off, which you can put out there, put in front of the society. For example, I mean, this is very common among people. So this has as well as a psychological effects. So this means if you are not very successful in your job, or do not feel appreciated, or do not see any way to get appreciation through your job in whatever sense, then it is likely, or many people then seek another way for appreciation. And this is becoming a sport. Through sport you get some sort of appreciation, or especially in our time with social media and with this egocentrism, as well as that you present your body on social media. There you get then appreciation, and this can be some sort of offset some issues, or where you in a way can pose as valuable self-value as well. But as well as we talked about moral values, you create a counter culture, because the creation of the counter culture makes it then in a way, or you would have to rather ask, I mean, how could we prevent the creation of a counter culture? And this is of course a bigger political issue, in that sense that this is then not confined to one person or whatever, but this is, I mean, in continental Europe, some people admitted that, some politicians admitted it, that this integration politics went wrong. It did not work properly in Germany as well as in Austria. Some people admitted it. I mean, despite the fact people still act on it, this has not changed, and I think this will never change. These are only sweet words coming out of the mouth of people who are perfect dialecticians, who do not mean any word they say, who are frauds, deceptive people, and whose grandparents and grandparents were bloody murderers. So I would not trust any word what these pitiable people has to say. I mean, this is someone who has never learned decency in his life, will not be able to feel